Example 16. Consider the same group of 10 people as in example 13. So we're considering the same group of people. We need to form a subgroup of 3 with at least one from Australia. How many such subgroups are possible? So again, our subgroup is categorized. Subgroup is categorized so that we want at least one Australian. So we could categorize the subgroup as one Australian and two non-Australians. So non-Australians I will denote by a bar. So our subgroup has this category, Australians and non-Australians. Since the subgroups, we are interested in all the subgroups with at least one Australian, there could be another subgroup which has two Australians and one non-Australian. We could also have another subgroup where we have three Australians and zero non-Australians. So we ought to have the same categorization for our main pool. The main pool has 5 Australians and 5 non-Australians. Again, our main pool has 5 Australians and 5 non-Australians. Five Australians and 5 non-Australians is our main pool. So if we are forming a subgroup with just one Australian and 2 non-Australians, we ought to choose one Australian out of a pool of 5, and we ought to choose 2 non-Australians from a pool of 5. If we are considering a subgroup which consists of 2 Australians and 1 non-Australians, again these 2 Australians have to be chosen from a pool of 5, and the 1 non-Australian has to be chosen from a pool of 5 as well. And if we are considering a subgroup which consists of 3 Australians and 0 non-Australians, these 3 Australians need to be chosen from a pool of 5, and the 0 Australians has to be chosen from a pool of 5 non-Australians. So let's write the total combinations. For this scenario, choosing one Australian from a pool of 5 is 5 choose 1. Choosing 2 non-Australians from a pool of 5 is 5 C2. So for this scenario, the total number of combinations is given by this expression. Then let's look at the scenario where our subgroup has 2 Australians. So this is our second scenario where we have 2 Australians and 1 non-Australian. So choosing 2 Australians from a pool of 5 is 5 choose 2. Choosing 1 non-Australian from a pool of 5 is 5 choose 1. So the number of combinations for this scenario is given by this term here. And the third scenario where we have 3 Australians in a subgroup and no non-Australians, which is this scenario, the number of combinations can be computed. We need to choose 3 Australians from a pool of 5, so it's 5 choose 3, and 0 non-Australians from a pool of 5, so it's 5 Z0. So the total number of combinations for this scenario is given by this term. So the total number of combinations with at least one Australian in a team is the sum of all these terms.